So today we're going to do the handover video on the Swift Escapes 584. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. Firstly, we're going to go to the passenger side and I'm going to show you how to open the bonnet. At the passenger side now, you'll notice that you've got your bonnet release catch, which is just here. Pull that rather, just to open the bonnet. Whilst I'm here, you've also got Remis cab blinds fitted in this vehicle. Simply pinch the clip there and pull out like so. Lead from the bottom with these and using the magnetic strip, connect them to the side. You've got your blinds on either side along with the front blind here. Again, one on that side as well with a magnetic strip to allow them to connect. When taking these back in, simply pinch and pull and lead again from the bottom, as you can see as I'm doing there, and link it back up until it clicks in and connects. Whilst we're on this side of the vehicle as well, you'll notice that you've got your fill up point for your diesel, which is again on the passenger side. Coming to the front of the vehicle, I've just lifted the bonnet. The main thing that you need to know underneath here is if the vehicle was to ever be needed to jump start. If that is the case, your positive outlet is just underneath this cap here, as indicated by the plus sign. Flip that up and you've got access to it there. And then your negative is just onto this metal nipple at the front there. So negative and positive is underneath there. They're the main things that you need to know, but just to talk you through a couple more things, you've got your engine oil here along with your dipstick below, your engine coolant, your brake disc fluid, your power steering fluid, and then finally your washer fluid, which is just to the back there. Coming round to the side of the vehicle, you'll notice that you've got your cassette toilet, which is just here. I'll open this up for you now. With the cassette door open, it'll gain you access to the cassette itself. To remove this, all you need to do is pull up on this green clip and pull out like so. That'll allow you to remove the cassette. What I'll do is I'll pull this out all the way and show you how to use it. Before removing this system, however, you need to always make sure that the blade on the toilet is closed, because if it is open, this cassette will get jammed. Now, as a rule of thumb in a vehicle, I always say if it feels like it's being jammed, you are probably doing something wrong, so do bear that in mind. If it's getting jammed, just reevaluate what you are doing. I'll go into more depth on how to open and close the blade on the inside, but for now let me remove this and show you how to empty it. With the cassette out, you can see that this vehicle is fitted with a large cassette. The cassette is really easy to empty. All you need to do is simply pull out this funnel here, unscrew the cap, and using the green button on the back, press that in. That will release a vacuum which is internal to the cassette and allow you to empty all of the contents out. Once you've done that, put a bit of fluid in here, a bit of liquid, just to rinse out the system, and then put the cap back on. It is worth mentioning with the cap as well, if you was to take this off, you can put your blue fluid and toilet chemical in the top of the cap and straight into the cassette. You'll notice about midway point as well, you've got another little toggle here, which is a green toggle. This should always remain in this position here. You shouldn't need to turn that or anything. In essence, this moves once it is in contact with the blade on the toilet and allows the cassette to open and close. As I say, this should always remain in this position. If this is ever off to the side, the cassette will never go in correctly. So do bear that in mind. With the cassette back in, let that lock into place, and you will notice at the top of the cassette you have another funnel similar to what you saw earlier. This funnel is simply for your flush. Unscrew this cap and put your pink fluid in there, and that is what uses the flush. So when you come to flush the toilet, the fluid that is stored in here and into the tank is what's used. Moving on, you've next got your gas bottles, which are just located here. Your gas bottles in here, the main thing that you need to remember is to always keep them off when travelling, and only turn them on when you are stationary and using the vehicle. Never have them on when travelling due to safety. With this open, you can see you've got the provisions for the gas bottle itself, along with a regulator which just needs a pigtail connected to it so you can feed the gas through. Coming away from the gas locker, underneath you'll notice that you have got one of your drain down points here. That grey pipe indicates the wastewater tank, and this is how you drain the system down. You have got a little lever on here. All you need to do is turn that and that'll empty the entire system for your wastewater. Now when you're on site, you'll have a massive grid that you can drive over, turn that valve and that'll open the valve and empty all the water out of the vehicle, so it'll be nice and easy for you. You've got three main drain down points in the vehicle. You've got your wastewater, which is external to the vehicle. You've got your fresh water, which is inside the vehicle, and you've also got your boiler drain down point, which is again on the inside. The really important drain down points, you need to make sure that the vehicle is truly drained down every time you finish using the vehicle to avoid getting frozen water in the system. Now moving on, you'll notice that you've got your hookup point there, which is a 230 volt hookup point, which goes straight into there and allow you to have power to the vehicle. And then moving to the back, you'll notice that you've got a truma vent, which is just in there. That is your chimney in essence. It does get quite hot there, so do be careful of hanging things on there, so do be mindful of that. In the back as well, you will notice these holes which have been created. On the back you have got rear steadies with using this tool, connects into there, and it'll allow you to wind down the back legs to give it a bit of support. Moving to the back, you'll notice you've got your bike rack on along with your reversing camera, which is up at the top, and this vehicle has got a tow bar on as well. On the other side of the vehicle now, you'll notice that you've got a point here which is for your barbecue gas point. Obviously you need to make sure that you have got your gas on for this to operate, but you can see by using the little yellow lever there, turn that and that'll activate the gas and allow you to use an external barbecue point. Moving backwards, you've then got your water fill up point here. This is for your fresh water. All you'll need to do is remove it by using the key, twist this out and pull it out. You'll then have a food grade hose pipe which can go straight into here and fill up the entire tank full of water. Once it's coming out, you know that it's full. Finally, on this side of the vehicle, you'll notice that you've got some fridge vents here. This is where the fridge pulls its air from to cool the fridge. Do it a favour, obviously, if it is a hot day and you've got the sun shining on this vehicle, try and keep it under shade, so pull the awning out just to help this out, because as I say, this is where it pulls its air from. If that air is hot, it's obviously not going to run as efficiently, so if you can just bear that in mind. This vehicle has also got a grab handle attached, which most people will unclip and pull around to the door just to add a bit of more security. As you can see, you've got your awning canopy which is on here. This is a Fiamma awning, and on the other side you'll have a little clip which allows the awning winder rather to connect into there and wind it out. You've two legs in here which will flip down and take the weight of the awning, and from that point you can simply angle the legs and wind it out and simply walk out the awning. So it's dead simple. Do bear in mind though, if it is a windy day, you do need to send this back in, because you don't want any wind getting underneath there, because it'll simply break the awning off. And you'll notice that you have got another channel here which the previous owner has fitted for a walk-away awning or something like that, which you can thread through. Moving in the vehicle, you'll notice that just above your habitation door you have got your control panel. You have your heating panel which is on the side here, and then you have your main control panel which will indicate your power and also activate your lights and things. To operate this, simply click your power button. That turns everything off and turns everything on. This is in essence your master switch. If you want your lights on in the vehicle, click cabin lights, and as you can see, that simply just turns on the interior lights. Next to this, you've then got your view levels. If you click your view levels, you've got your leisure battery reading, which is just there, along with your vehicle battery reading, just there. Above that, you've your wastewater level, and then your freshwater level. It's indicating red and green here on 0, because we've no water in the vehicle as of yet. On the other side of the power button, you've got your water pump. Click that and that'll activate. Now you'll notice when I click that, you had a large beep, a loud beep rather, as you can hear. The reason that is beeping is because we've no water in the vehicle, as I've explained, and that is just a safety mechanism, just to ensure that you're not burning out the pump. Now when using the pump, you need to put firstly water in the vehicle and select your pump. You then need to go to your taps, including your shower, turn them on and turn them to hot. What that'll do is it'll pull fresh water from the fresh water tank into the boiler and then out of the tap. It'll spurt and splutter, and then when it's running steadily, you have prime your system for your hot water. Once you've done that, flick it over to cooled and do the exact same. Now, once everything's running steadily throughout the vehicle, you don't need to turn your pump off. You can simply just push your taps down, because on each of your taps you've got a little micro switch which will activate and deactivate the pump when required, similar to at home. Now the reason I always say do it on hot first is the boiler that is used in here, it obviously doesn't provide instant hot water. It does take a minute or two to obviously get a bit of hot water in the vehicle. It's going to take about half an hour or so to heat that water up. So if you do that the first time you arrive on site, you turn it to hot and pull that water through. It's going to get it up to temperature, so by the time you come to use it, it's going to be hot for you. Now coming back over to the control panel, you'll notice that finally on here you've got your awning light, which will turn on the light on the outside. It's dead simple. Now moving away from the control panel and onto the heating system. This is a heating system from Truma. It's really easy to use. All you need to do is click your on button, and as you can see, it turns on the panel. Next you've got your temperature. Click that temperature button and you can see it gives you the option. We're at the top here at 30 degrees, but if you wanted to turn that down, you can do and flick through the options there. Once you're happy with the heat, simply click select. Now as you can see, I'm getting a red warning light here, so I'm just going to turn that off now. The reason I was getting that warning light is I've not actually hooked up to any electric or gas, so it's just warning me that I've not got anything hooked up to the vehicle, so it's therefore not going to allow me to run the heating system. But for the purposes of this video, it's just to show you how that works. Now next you've got your heating system, your fuel system. So the first button is for the temperature and the second is for what you're using to fuel the vehicle with. If I select this back on now, you can see you have a couple of options, quite difficult to see on the screen, there we are, but you can see you have a couple of options of how you want to run the heating. You can run the heating off 230 volt, which is 4 amp, or 230 volt 8 amp. You can either run it off gas, so for example if you're wild camping you can run it solely off gas, or beneath that you can run it off 230 volt and gas, or 230 volt 8 amp and gas, depending on obviously how much power you are supplied with. To select them options, click that, and using this up and down arrow you can select through the options as you did with the heating. So it's dead simple and dead easy. As I mentioned, if for example you get an error code, you'll need to reset this system by powering it down. Finally, you've got your water. You can your water temperature is different to your vehicle temperature. Your water you can run off the first one, or 60 degrees. 60 degrees you're going to be running it off for when I'll just turn that off. For when, let's say, you're on site and you're washing up and things. The first water option you'll be running when you're having a shower and things. I've just turned that off because, as I say, it's just moaning at me because I've not got the correct fuel in the vehicle. But as you can see how that works. Now coming away from the control panel back into the kitchen, you'll notice that you've got your Dometic Fridge here. Your fridge is a 3-way system and it allows you to power the fridge using 3 methods of fuel. The first one, as you can see, is 230 volt as indicated by the little plug. The little flame symbol indicates gas and the battery indicates 12 volt leisure battery. The A button is really useful. This is automatic and this will automatically assign whichever fuel you have in the vehicle to power the fridge. So when you're on site, you'll be running it off your 230 volt. When you're wild camping, you'll be running it off your gas. And then when you're travelling, you'll be running it off your 12 volt leisure battery. A lot of people think that they can when they're wild camping, they can run the fridge off the leisure battery. However, that is not the case. Because if that was, you'd simply drain the vehicle of all of its power. So it'll only let you run the system off gas for when you are wild camping. Other than that, when you're travelling, it's always on your leisure battery. Because this vehicle has a built-in alternator which will send power to the leisure battery, which when travelling, which will ultimately power the fridge. Next, you've then got your temperature button, so you can change the temperature, and then finally you have a reset button here, which is this little triangle with an arrow code, with a little exclamation mark. You'll only need to reset this system if, for example, you select a fuel that you haven't got. That'll only happen if you knock it off that A. One thing to mention with the fridge is it does a very good job at maintaining the temperature things, but doesn't do the best of jobs at getting it down to temperature as you would get either with a normal fridge at home. So if you want frozen things to be in the freezer, put frozen things in, and if you want cooled things to be in the fridge, put cooled things in. Moving on from the fridge and into your oven and grill. You've got a grill up at the top here and an oven below, along with your hob. Your hob has got one electric plate and 3 gas, which is nice. And above this you've got a 230 volt microwave. As I say, this microwave is strictly 230 volt and will only work when you are plugged in on site. It won't work when you're wild camping. So moving on, opposite the kitchen area is your bathroom. Opening up the bathroom, you'll notice on the floor firstly you have got a little hatch. This hatch, if I lift it up, gains you access underneath the vehicle, and that is to your wastewater tank. Now, as I say, for the wastewater, you've got your drain down point, which is on the outside of the vehicle, but if you wanted to clean the wastewater tank, you can do by here. You have another one of these hatches right at the back of the vehicle, and that's for your fresh water, and that will allow you to actually drain the vehicle down of your fresh water, but I'll show you that shortly. Now, coming back up to your bathroom area, as I say, you have the toilet here. Now, when in use, what you need to do, or when you're using the cassette, you need to open the blade. The blade, in this case, is this little plastic piece here. Pull that towards you, and that will open the cassette. All the waste can therefore drop into the cassette, and once you've done the waste, click that blue button there, and that will flush the entire system and allow all the waste to drop into the cassette and flush it. You then need to close the blade like so. You close the blade for 2 reasons. The main reason being it does stop odours from escaping, but secondly, the most important reason is it will get you in the habit of course, keeping that shut, so when you remove the cassette, it's not going to end up being broken or jammed. But that should always be closed when not in use. Now, as I say, you have a blue button on here which activates your flush. It's worth mentioning that you do need your pump on for that to work. And you will notice you've got a little dial here, or a little indicator strip here. When that glows red, you know that the cassette is full and it needs emptying. It's worth mentioning with this, you have got your sink, which folds out here above the toilet, and your shower, which is just here. Directly opposite your oven and grill, you've got a bit of storage, so a really good bit of hanging space here, along with a Vision Plus aerial, which when on, you can see you've got a green light on there. There is a little switch on the top that you need to switch to activate. And then at the front, you've got your awning pole, which is here. Unscrew this to release, and unscrew the top, and then push this pole all the way up. You can then tighten this into position for when that's turned green, and then using the little arm at the bottom, this allows you to tilt the head of the aerial. So it's dead simple. Now in this case it's showing green, which indicates a good signal, so you shouldn't need to move it. However, if you are in another location which is struggling and that's reading amber or red, you may want to mess around with this just to improve your signal. Now up here as well, you have got to this vehicle fitted 2 travelling seats, and this is an indicator of how this works. A little bit of instructions, which is dead handy. You have also in this got a leg for your table, and the tabletop is just stored in this next cupboard here. Now directly below the storage compartment, you'll notice that you've got your fuses and your trip box here. You'll notice that you've got your charger button here, space heater and water heater, so if you wanted to heat the vehicle's water tanks, you can do. The charger and the reverse polarity I'd leave as it is. For these two you can activate to obviously heat them tanks. Now here you've a trip switch with a little T box on there, T switch there, and this is your RCD breaker. So if the vehicle ever trips, you need to come to here. Now a nice tip is if you, for example, you can't get any power to the vehicle, if you come to this vehicle, system rather, click the T button and all of these trip, you are getting power to the van. So there's therefore not an issue with your hookup cable or the campsite you're on. There's an issue with the actual vehicle itself. So from there you can then check your fuses, which are just below, as you can see. So it's dead simple. It helps you isolate the issue. Now directly next to this, I've got some little taps here. These are just little isolator valves. Just leave them as they are. They're for the gas appliances. They're just for us and the technicians when working on the vehicle. Now moving to the back of the vehicle, you'll notice I've just removed this cushion. Located underneath here is your boiler drain down point, along with your leisure batteries. Before getting onto that, however, you will notice, as I mentioned before, you have got a hatch here similar to the one at the front. Lift this up like so, and that will reveal the fresh water tank, which is just there. Now, to drain this system down, you need to simply unscrew, and then on the inside of the vehicle, if I remove this, you've got a little hole which is just in there. That little hole, you'll have a little bung which will seal the unit so all your water can stay in there, and then when you're draining down, put your hand in and simply remove that bung just to empty all that water. And as I say, you need to make sure that you drain down every time you'll stop using the vehicle or you are moving off site. Tighten that back on like so and put the flap into position like that. Now, do excuse the mess, this vehicle hasn't been valeted yet, but you can see that you have got the battery units here. So this is for where the leisure batteries are stored, and then your final drain down point for your boiler system is just there, indicated by that little yellow valve or little switch. Now, in the down position as it is at the moment, it is closed. In the up position, just flick up like so, and that will empty the system. You need to always make sure that that is open, especially during the cooler months, or when you're not using the vehicle, to ensure that you don't get any frozen water in the system. If you get frozen water in the system, you will freeze it, and it'll ultimately break the boiler, and then you'll have to replace it. So do make sure that that is open. And again, all your drain down points when you are moving off site, you can leave open, because providing you've drained the majority of it down, the vibrations of the road will get that final bit of water out, and will ensure that you don't get any water remaining in the vehicle for when you come to store it. Now, before moving on, you'll notice on all windows you've got your fly screen and blackout blind as shown, and they each have little clips, or little handles rather, which will release the window and allow you to push it out. Using the black knobs on the side, you can then connect it into place. Now, please make sure that when you are travelling, all of these are securely fastened to ensure that there's no wind getting through. Same thing with skylights, because if obviously one is open, wind could get underneath and rip the window out, so do bear that in mind. Now finally, you've got your bed, which is up at the top, which is just here. You'll need a ladder up to that, which is just in the back, and this does push up like so, using the gas struts to give you a bit more headspace for when you are moving into the vehicle, into the cab of the vehicle. So that concludes the handover video on the Swift Sundance 584. I hope you enjoyed.